Hey there everybody, it's markcrilley. I'm back with another how to draw video. You know, I've done a lot of videos about how to draw eyes over the years. Oh, so many videos about eyes, but I've never done one about eyebrows. And the truth is, eyebrows can kind of be an afterthought. We tend to focus so much on the eyes. But today's video, we're going to devote 100% of the attention to drawing the eyebrows. Now, I've drawn the eyes already, or some of the basic lines of them anyway. And now it's time to get on to drawing the basic shapes of the eyebrows themselves. And hopefully I can do a lot of this real time. So let's start over here on the left. I think the first thing to pay attention to is the space between the fold of the upper eyelid, or just the upper eyelash line, and the eyebrows themselves. You certainly don't want them to be, I mean, if you get the eyebrow down here really close, the person begins to look as if they are in distress or, you know, focused very intently on something. I would say you want to get at least, let's say in this case, one iris worth of space between those lines and the line of the eyebrow itself. Now, I'm going to begin by drawing the angle here, which is, of course, slanting down just a little bit toward the middle of the forehead, or towards the bridge of the nose, I guess we'd have to say. But notice the angle. You don't want to go too steeply downhill. It starts to look angry. If you go straight horizontal, it maybe starts to look a little apologetic. And then, of course, you're wondering, where do I stop? How far into this area do I continue? I would say look at this tear duct here, use that as your guideline, and allow yourself to go just a little bit past that. In this case, over to the right. And then you're getting to the area where you probably ought to stop the eyebrow lines. That you will, you know, I'm not going to draw the eyebrow lines. We're just doing the basic shape. I mean the individual hairs, I should say. Right now I'm just getting the outline, the basic shape of the eyebrow itself. So having got that in place, then generally speaking, you reach a point where there's an angle almost. And that point, again, I would say look at the iris and maybe come over here to this far edge, provided the person is looking straight at you. And this is maybe where you begin to see that angle of the other edge of the eyebrow tilting down, maybe at a slightly steeper angle. But notice that the shape is beginning to narrow here as it comes down and reaches a point. Again, ending, you know, you look at the edge of the eye, allow yourself to go a little bit past that, but not too far. In fact, I'm actually going to erase just a little bit because I think I overdid it. I think I just got a little carried away. So there you go for the basic shape of the eyebrow. And maybe what I'll do is just I'll continue and confine all my work to this one eyebrow here, because there's going to be a lot of repetition over here. That might have to be my time-lapsey one. This will be the real-time one over here. So let's see if I can zoom in then so that you can see every individual stroke of the pencil. Okay, so you kind of have to decide at the outset how naturalistic do you want to be in terms of drawing each individual hair. I think I'm going to kind of do both in this video. Begin by drawing individual hairs. Let you see how you might do that if you want to. Now, over here toward the bridge of the nose, and maybe I'll erase away, you know, the outline here is a little harsh in terms of if you want to do naturalistic eyebrows. But having got that, that's going to help me in terms of the placement. Over here near the bridge of the nose is where you might see a few of the hairs go sort of vertical. Some people's eyebrows even tilting a little inward towards the bridge of the nose. But very soon after this immediate right hand area, the hairs begin to flow in what seems to me a 45-degree angle, diagonal angle, towards that point of the eyebrow over there. Now, I should say that some people don't have a point to their eyebrows. I always thought that, like, Julia Roberts has these very curved eyebrows that don't have a point to them. And indeed, to do a video about eyebrows in general is a little bit misleading, because I don't think you can, you know, make generalizations about eyebrows. There's so many different kinds, and I don't think you can say there's a predominant, default style. But anyway, in terms of the directional flow of the hair, a lot of the photos that I studied anyway had this sort of 45-degree angle. And then down here, you may see a few individual lines, hairs sort of break through. Again, if you want to go really naturalistic, you might see some coming through like that. I'm going to probably make this area up here a little more streamlined, trimmed. What am I trying to say? Let me know when you figure it out, because I'm afraid I never will. And then you get to this this point, the angle here, and then as you might imagine, it goes from that 45-degree angle that we did all across here to beginning to tilt down and follow along. Now, some people's eyebrows, again, if we're getting naturalistic, where you don't want these sort of perfectly trimmed eyebrows or with like heavily made up eyebrows, this is where you'll really start to see a lot of individual lines here of the hairs growing out from the sort of underside of the brow. What is this area called? I don't know. Let's invent a name for it. The over the eyelid bit. Sure, I thought I could do better than that. Let's add just a few lines here, though, and I've seen, and again, depending on the person, you might see quite a lot of these little individual lines of the hairs that kind of come down from above, and it's like they join together before tapering off. But I'm going to put just a little bit of that in there. Why not? And that's basically giving us the shape of the eyebrow that I intend to do. And yeah, consider this as it is, a sort of naturalistic eyebrow. Someone with fairly thick eyebrows, it must be said. Some people have very, very light eyebrows, and that really would require, I think, a separate video. But what I'm going to do now is switch to my trusty black Prismacolor. Oh, wait, that's supposed to be for the gouache, Crilly. You don't use that music for the trusty black Prismacolor. And I'm going to go in on top of this and start to show you what, for like an illustrator might do. Instead of allowing you to see each individual hair in this area, an illustrator might come in and start sort of filling in, especially in this area, over to the right-hand side, the sort of thickest area. Might just fill this all in and make it a kind of even tone of black. I wouldn't carry all the way over here, though. I sort of like that look of seeing a few individual lines breaking the mold over here. But yeah, it must be said, these days I see, a lot of women are doing very heavily made up eyebrows, and they're striving for a kind of perfect shape that is much more, you can just almost see a line straight across, So that's definitely a legitimate look for eyebrows these days. But I'm using the black Prismacolor, which is just an ordinary black colored pencil, to just darken in this area and give it so that you're not sort of distracted by the individual little gaps of white coming through the page. Now I am going to later on finish up these eyes and make them more detailed, but this I am not going to be talking about how to draw eyes. There will be a link to, I have a whole playlist of all the different eyes videos that I've done. So if you did come to this video saying, hey, I want to learn to draw not just eyebrows, but also the eyes themselves, go ahead and check out that playlist, because there's literally like 20 videos or something. The guy is obsessed with eyebrows. Dude, what is with this eyebrow obsession? I had to, both of the voices came together on that one to chastise me for too many eyes videos. But that kind of brings me to the end of this one. I hope you'll agree that that's a fairly nice, believable looking eyebrow. And I think it's time for me to shift focus. I'm going to go ahead and sort of apply this same technique to that other eyebrow, all in time-lapse. Maybe come back to say a few words about how it differs, because I am drawing these eyes in a 3/4 point of view, so that the shape, as the other eyebrow is sort of tilting away from us, is going to maybe be slightly different. But let's go ahead and get on to drawing the other eyebrow. Alright, so you can see, due to this sort of turning of the face in space, this eyebrow is actually shifted across a little bit over to the right, and you can see the comparison of where this eyebrow relates to that tear duct compared to here, where it's like maybe just shift a little off to the right rather than matching. If she was looking straight at us, you would try to get both of them to match. Speaking of which, you end up with this, drawing the other eye situation, which, as we all know, is very tricky. The same thing happens with eyebrows. You struggle to make one eyebrow match the other in terms of the width and the various angles. But basically, when a face is turned off to one side just a little bit, you get a bit of compression over here from one side to the other, and indeed this eyebrow is starting to curve around to the contour of the face. Well, as I said, I am going to add some more detail now to these eyes to finish off the illustration. But before I do that, let me talk just a little bit about the importance of shading in this area, this as yet unnamed, the upper eyelidular zone. I like that better. The upper eyelidular zone. This is where there's this space between the eyebrow and the eye. And generally speaking, in most lighting situations, there is going to be some shadow falling in here due to the structure of the forehead. Unless, of course, she's holding a flashlight under her chin and telling a spooky story, in which case this is all very highly illuminated. But barring that situation, you are going to see shading in here, and I would say it's actually quite important, and that's why I wanted to mention it as part of this video. If you are drawing the eyes and the eyebrows and you're not adding any shading of any kind, it's something worth considering, because you're going to see much more than you do right now as I continue working on this, that it plays an important role in sort of linking the eyebrows with the eyes. Again, if you're going for realism, now, a lot of times you're going for more of a graphic, artistic style in which you're not adding shadows to everything, in which case you can very cheerfully ignore this last piece of advice and leave out the shading. But it's something worth considering if you're going for a realistic look. But you can see how the shade comes right in here between this part of the eyebrow and the upper eyelid, whereas over here it tends to get more illuminated. You're not seeing this quite so dark. The darkness comes right in here, and it tends to also intensify as it gets closer to that fold of the upper eyelid. Again, not everyone has a super visible fold of the upper eyelid, so we get into the, generalizations here in terms of drawing eyes. In any case, I think you will find, even for people whose upper eyelid is not super visible, that you are going to get darkness, increasing darkness as the shadowing reaches near to the upper eyelash line, if that is indeed more visible than the eyelid, the fold of the upper eyelid. Well, I think I've gabbed on about that long enough. I'm going to kick it into time-lapse, and we're going to finish up all of the eye part of it, the drawing of the eyes, and then I'm going to come back with a few final words. Alright, well, as you can see, I couldn't resist adding a few little touches of my beloved white gouache. washed. Now that's the appropriate time to use that music, Krill Dog. Did I just call myself Krill Dog? Yes, I believe I did. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I know I had fun making it for you, but let me go ahead and grab my books so that I can thank anyone who has supported me by getting them, like Brody's Ghost, my graphic novel series, The Realism Challenge, my book on hyper-realism, manga art, which used to be my very latest book until this one came along, and it's called, quite simply, Chibi. Many, many thanks to anyone who supports me by getting those books. It really does mean a lot to me, but let's go ahead and lay down my trusty black Prismacolor. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back with another one real soon.